Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. This week I'm just going to put out a short video. I wanted to put out something. And as you can see behind me, I'm ready to fit my fuel cell in this truck so I can move on to other things. And we're going to do that with some 1-inch strap holding it down and around the bottom and around the top. And the way we're going to do that, you can buy a strap kit for 150 bucks, but the way we're going to do it here is with a couple 12 or 15 pieces, $12 or $15 pieces of steel, inch by eighth. And I bought a cheap bender on Amazon, and we're going to give it a whirl. And I don't know how many of you have bent sheet metal before, but there's a science and an art behind it, and I'm not a sheet metal guy. So there's some things to think about when you start bending metal. And since we don't want to make big mistakes, we'll start with a test piece and see how these bends act and go from there. Hang around. Now, to get our strap to fit the fuel cell, this is what we're looking for. And we'll need 2 of these along with a flat strap across the top. But we'll have to figure out how to bend on this hand bender and make all these dimensions work, obviously, because you don't want to scrap a bunch of material. But knowing that I do have a little bit more material than I need, and I'm going to need some tabs anyway, I'll run a test piece with smaller dimensions just to see where my bends end up. Let's take a look. Now, this is going to be hard to see from where you are, but we've got our mark at 3 inches here, and it's dead center on the center pin. And we're going to bend around that pin and see where we end up. It won't be at 3 inches where the bend is. This takes some figuring out. All right, as you can see now, we made that mark at 3 inches. Take it straight here. And we gained 3/16, which is about half of the pin diameter on that bender is 10 millimeters. So 3 inches we gained 3/16. Now, if I want to be 6 inches, if I want the belly, if I want another bend here at 6 inches, where are we going to end up? I'm going to measure from the back side of this. Actually, I'll measure from the top side, because that's similar to the bend we'll need for our fuel cell. Measure from the top and mark 6 inches. And let's see where we end up. Sorry about the camera here. Stuff down. So I'm going to mark this at 6. We'll do the same thing and see where we end up. This time, we're going to need the bend this way. I have to change the way I marked my 6. 6. Right there. So we're centered on the pin. You can see here. We're going to bend this way again. There's about 90. Let's see what we got. You can see our bend gained us a little. We're at about 6 1/8 to the inside. So it bent us 1/8 long. So if we wanted another 6 inches on the inside of this bend, let's see how we do that. Let's mark. If we gained 1/8, I have to set this thing down. Sorry. Let's see if I can adjust the camera a little for you. Or maybe not. You can see now. So if we go 6, I really need a hand here. I need my wife out here. If we want 6 in the inside, let's mark it 5 7/8. We gained 1/8 here. Let's see what happens going 5 1/8 or 5 7/8. See if we gain again, whether we lose it. This is all stuff you want to figure out before you make your real bends. So we're going to center on that pin. Well, looks like it's about 90. And where are we? So we went 5 7/8. We ended up just a hair over 6. So now we know. I'll bend this a little more. Let's, I need to grab these. It's a hair over 6. So I think what we're seeing is in these bends is the half of the pin diameter. The pin diameter is 10 millimeter. So half a 10 millimeter is about 3/16. And I think like that go round, we took off 1/8. we still ended up, and you can see the line here. The line is about the center of that radius, or it's on this edge of the radius. We'd want our number in the center of that radius. So I think if we take half the pin diameter away from our bends, so half the pin diameter being 400, if we took 200, which simple math would be 3/16, if we took 3/16 off of our bend dimensions and mark that and centered on our pin, we'd end up right. All right, well, I don't know if you learned anything there. I did. I think in the future, for trying to bend for this fuel cell, I'm gonna add or subtract half of my pin diameter on my bends. If I have two inside bends, I'd essentially be subtracting throughout the bend. You'd subtract one whole pin diameter. But I guess, you know, my point in making this video is you're going to gain material or lose material depending on how you look at it when you bend sheet metal. This flat bar is essentially sheet metal for our purposes, and don't be afraid to make some test bends. Figure out how your bender works before you commit to making the bends that you need for your project. The other thing I learned was a $29 bender from Amazon will do pretty well at bending 1/8" flat stock for a fuel cell, for fuel cell straps. So hope this makes you more ready to tackle your next project. We'll see you next time.